Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Congression podcast. I almost forgot the name again.
Now you know how I felt the first time.
Yeah, I definitely know.
So, welcome back. Like he said before, I'm glad.
Gum away, actually.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you can keep.
I'm
going.
glad that you guys can be here. I'm glad you guys could be here. As you can, we have a new audio guy here, so he's able. We're able to sort of suss things out and actually have like onboard diagnostics while things are happening.
We're more comfortable now with everything because we have a pair of eyes looking over it.
Yeah, we don't.
The first episode where we had to literally like keep looking.
Yeah, we had to look down the whole time. Everything's
a
a lot better so far.
So much changed in one episode. That's crazy.
A lot changed so far.
Yeah.
But
you want to get us started with our first topic?
So the first topic that I wanted to really talk to you about was, do you feel like we were born in the wrong generation?
I do not. I do not feel like we were born in the wrong generation.
No, granted, I would like to expand by saying like that it doesn't mean it's like oh, it's because I listen to Pink Floyd and Billy Joel and stuff. No, that's not the point. Like that's a stupid argument. That's an absolutely stupid argument.
Exactly.
I mean, like I could argue that I was born in the wrong generation because the 80s was full of tons of cocaine and I was able to just dance my life away because I was just all coked up.
Good cocaine back then.
Oh yeah, that was really good cocaine. But I wouldn't even know because I wasn't born.
We weren't
in the
even
80s.
born.
Yeah, I wasn't even born. And basically, I've come to ask you this question because of the way that the climate of our economy is, the way the jobs are, the way that things are, and I feel like it's not a bad question because a lot of people that are Gen Z and late millennials, they feel as if they were born in the wrong generation, or the generation that they live in right now is completely fucked.
They feel like they were put in this world when it's at its lowest, basically, and that they have to deal with all the issues that say previous generations made, and they feel like they can't really recover from it.
Yeah. And I mean that's where I wanted to like sort of dive into, because like back then in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, like $15 an hour was a lot of money back then. $200 a day, or at least like getting $200 a day, was ludicrous in the 60s. I think there was like a scene in Ford v Ferrari where the wife and Ken Miles and Molly, his wife, they're fighting about how he was going to go racing again, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, well, it's $200 a day. And she goes, are you nuts? Why didn't you take it?
Exactly.
Like, why are you even considering it? You should just go on with it. Now, $200 a day is just something that's just a little bit above like what we get as an average. Like you can't see that with 15 an hour, but it's close.
There's a different experience, every generation, and Gen Z definitely feels some sort of negativity towards the world.
I mean, I feel like they have a right to be that way.
They do.
If you
they do.
I mean, if you look at the prices of houses back then, they used to be like $45,000 or like $50,000 for a nice one, or $100,000 was like a mansion.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we look at it now, it's like $45,000 is the price of a car. Like we had to bargain like whenever I helped my parents pick out a car, we had to bargain them down from $45,000. Like $45,000 was like their limit.
Yeah.
And it's like you can buy a mid-range car for $45,000 now, just a mid-range SUV.
I have a question for you, a follow-up. Are you done with your point?
To a degree, yeah. What's going on?
Do you think COVID affected that more?
COVID got us addicted to our devices. They got us dependent on our devices. We now COVID did affect our economy in a sort of way where people had to get out of their jobs. People had to sort of live in a weird way that they weren't used to, and nobody was used to it. Nobody's used to being isolated like that.
And the thing about today's world is everything is fast paced compared to before. And when COVID hit, all of a sudden everything came to a stop. And it was such a harsh stop that, obviously the economy felt it. The just emotional impact that it put on the world, it was pretty big, and we weren't ready for it either. So adding that to how the economy is, it's putting a lot of pressure on this generation.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we gonna survive?
Yeah. And I mean,
like young people already have to think that, and it's kind of sad to think about, but that's just how life is right now.
And I feel like it also created a dependency for using things like our phones to buy things. Like, we don't want to go out anymore.
Yeah,
because we just realized,
social now.
We don't have to go anywhere anymore.
Exactly.
We don't have to go anywhere to get anything. We can just do this all in the comfort of our own home. And I mean, shopping malls have always been like a thing that's been declining as time goes on. In Asia, they're very prominent still. And in fact, Asia finds it very intriguing. Like, I've spoken to people that live in like Thailand and in Vietnam, in China, in Japan, and they're like, it's actually very interesting that your malls are dying, because we like to go out and we like to physically touch the items, and we like to go do things. Like, we want to shop, we want to do these fun things, and we want to go out, while we are slowly like becoming reclusive almost. We're being attached to our own devices. And I mean, I'm not to sound like a boomer or something, but social media has really played a huge part in that, and it's really muddied our idea of what human interaction is. Like, we can, like, social media was supposed to bring us together, and what we're starting to notice that it did the exact opposite. We have things like cancel culture. We have things like influencers that are constantly telling you, like, oh, you can get rich if you invest into cryptocurrency.
Social media divided us more than united us.
Yeah. I mean, it united cliques. It united people that were into one certain ideology, but if you didn't follow it to the T, then you were going to be shunned.
Yeah. You were an outcast at that point, and it affects many things. It really brings down the motivation to go out and try new things, because if you try it, you might look down upon, and that's really not what we need.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it divided us in a certain aspect, but it also brought us together in a different aspect. For example, like when Salt Bae was at the World Cup and was trying to steal the cup, and then was like literally harassing Messi. Nobody liked him in the end. And what it has done is it has exposed people who don't deserve the fame. It's exposed people that got skewed by it. And it does work as a little check and balance for a celebrity, or a check and balance for an influencer. But also it makes it so much easier for people that just frankly don't need a platform to have a platform. Like, for not the longest time, but like 2 or 3 years ago, there was like this trend of people licking ice cream in a grocery store, and people started doing it. And it's absolutely wrong. I don't know why we allowed our platforms to really do that sort of thing. I don't like, we allowed it to happen. And there were no consequences. I mean, that's what sort of happened with social media, and that's what sort of disallowed us from really coming together as a functioning society, and we're just showing off how how batshit crazy we are as people and what we're willing to do for fame.
Yeah.
In fact, time was, if somebody got into a fight, people were calling the police or people were finding the nearest telephone. Meanwhile, now it's like, no, we're just going to hop on our phones and post it on social media now.
I think in today's world, morals have changed.
I think morals have become something of the waste, like something of the wayside. I mean, there's so many different people telling you that this is right, this is wrong. And people are creating these characters, and people are just becoming these larger than life figures because they know that they can get away with it. They know that they can get away with being just so completely different to the point where they're just outrageous and nobody really believes them, and they're going to say like 90% of the things wrong, but they're right 10% of the time. And people are going to believe them because of the 10% that they were right. I mean, people are purposely being misogynistic. People are purposely being racist. People are purposely saying things that are wrong just so people can get a reaction, and it works. At least that's how I feel.
I think that's how it is. I mean, you try to get attention, and people would go to like, they don't have any borders anymore. They don't care. As long as you get the attention, do it.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you get the attention, you get it, and you get money from it.
Yeah.
I mean,
you get rewarded for doing something that isn't right, and that's not right.
What's even worse is, like, social media has allowed people to think down upon themselves more. They've thought themselves down. Like, you got these, like,
you see people with high influence having like say a perfect life, and it doesn't really help an individual who
lives a very normal life.
Lives a very normal life with many problems, and it just doesn't help their situation anymore.
Yeah, like, it doesn't help with people that work a regular job, like work at Walmart or work at Amazon or just like...
Alright, bro, why you gotta single those out, bro?
Like, they're regular people, and we need regular people. And the biggest, like, funny meme that everybody's been saying is like, we don't need influencers, we need electricians. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, we're just so much more like around influencers through our social media. It's like we don't know where to even start sometimes. And a lot of people will always think that, oh, well, I could just look pretty on social media and then I'll end up being rich and famous. And that's not the point. That's not what happens. That's not ever what happens. But in the end, they realize, oh, well, if I look pretty and I go on social media and then I say a few things that are out of pocket, like things that just don't make any sense, but people agree, I'm going to be rich and famous. And meanwhile, there are electricians that are making more money than them while they're just being broke. They're just being broke. They're being stupid. They're just working their jobs. And I mean, the worst thing that could ever happen to us economically is hustle culture. I mean, the whole idea of hustle culture, where it's like, well, if we just constantly work ourselves into the grave, we're gonna end up money. We're gonna end up having a lot of money, and it doesn't work that way. I mean,
no, I mean,
the money is meant to be spent, and
exactly, you earn it to spend it.
That's just how it is. It's to pay bills and all that sort of stuff.
It's it's a constant circle.
Yeah, the
you
money
gain
gets recycled.
to spend, and then you gain it again to spend. You could probably be earning the same dollar you earned last year.
Exactly.
Like that's how.
I mean, there's only so
meaningless.
There's only so much money you can have before you just end up doing it as a figure of like status.
Exactly.
I mean, you could easily live the rest of your life comfortably with, like, I would say $20 million. $20 million, you could invest it and live the rest of your life comfortably just off of $20 million. Meanwhile, there's people that have billions and billions and billions just because they just want to tell people that they have billions, or they don't have to tell people. People will tell people.
Yeah, people. Pretty much, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous because Gen Z just has no hope, because it's like, oh, well, here's a dead-end job, and here's a college degree that you have to be in endless amounts of debt for, and you can work at this dead-end job for the rest of your life if you want, but if you really want to go places, you can go get a degree. And then when they go get a degree, they don't get the job that they want because they just assume that they're just going to have it. And then on top of that, when they decide that they want to be rich, the only people that are the same age as them that are rich are crypto scammers. People that just assume that they're just good at money and they're just good at everything and their life is absolutely perfect. Meanwhile, they violated so many different tax codes and so many different laws that have to do with tax evasion and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like such a big letdown for us as a generation. It's such a big letdown for us to see that, like, oh, well, the only way that people our age are even making money is just because they're being crypto scammers. It's because they're just being out of pocket. They're doing things that they're not supposed to. They're just being stupid and getting money because they're stupid. Well, sorry for the interruption, guys. We actually had an emergency.
Some technical difficulties.
Basically what I was saying was, like, we're doomed because the only way that we think that we're actually going to get rich is if we become crypto scammers. I mean, cryptocurrency right now is absolutely in the shitter right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cryptocurrency is always going to be just a very volatile thing. It's almost impossible to notice trends on it. It's very hard to do, and that's just the truth behind it. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm any better because, I mean, I'm just average with my money. I'm not like the best. I'm not the worst, but I'm just meh. But I just know for a fact that investing my money into crypto and only crypto is not going to make me rich.
It's not. That thing could fail any second.
Exactly. And I mean, we saw it with things like pull-out schemes like BitConnect and things
BitConnect.
Like BitConnect was like the biggest pull-out scheme ever, and like FTX was fraudulent. And then Logan Paul, he had that, yeah, he had the huge crypto scam that went on. And like,
yeah, we're going for you, Logan
Andrew Tate
Paul.
Was calling him out the whole time, and I respect Andrew Tate for calling him out. But also, let's also not forget Hustlers University is a complete scam too. So, so I mean,
scammer gets scam.
Exactly. Like everybody that says that they're rich and famous and says that there's like, oh, a matrix is, well, they're scamming you. And I mean, I'm not skeptical of the idea of the fact that there's like a class system where it's like, oh, you're an underling, you work and you only work and you're going to work for the rest of your life. And then there's that hierarchy where it's like, oh, well, we don't need to work, we're in charge of you, blah blah blah.
Well, I feel like the only reason why there's that is because people believe in it.
Exactly.
And like, no, it really isn't that. It really isn't true. Like, you can move up and be that person that says you're only made to work. You don't have to be like that person.
You don't have to be that person.
You can be. It's possible to do it, because how did they get there? By believing that they can do it. So they did it.
Exactly.
And they reached it. And
that's the point.
They did it.
It's just like, instead of being that type of person, what Gen Z has done is they've given up. We've given up on trying to change. We've given up on wanting to do better. We are okay with working at a job where we can just work for the rest of our lives until eventually we either retire or we can't retire. I mean, in the end, it sucks, and we're not going to have Social Security. We're not going to have healthcare systems. We're not going to have anything for us to really work with. I mean, people can try to escape it by like going into the military or going and doing things like real estate and things like that, but then that's just a whole process in itself. And the biggest issue that I saw was the fact that people that are like Gen X or like early millennials, Gen X, and like late boomers, they are all like, oh, well, nobody in your generation knows how to work on things. Nobody knows how to work with their hands. And it's like, well, of course we're not going to come in, because you guys created a system where we need like 10 pages of credentials, and we have to go through so many different hoops to get there. And then once we finally get there, we're met with people that don't want to teach us how to do it and teach us their experiences. They just want to see us fail and just constantly want to see us fail. And it doesn't help us, because you don't want to help us.
You see, the thing with me is that I like to prove people wrong, and it's just me though. That kind of motivates me, and I feel like that's what some people need.
I mean, I have a very opposite approach, and I mean, the biggest thing for me is just, it is what it is, but there's always room for improvement. Like everybody that I talk to, whenever they're like catching up with me, because they haven't talked to me in like years, they're like, oh, well, how are you doing? And I always say, I could be better. They always assume that something bad has happened. No, it doesn't mean that something bad has happened.
No, it's that you could always improve.
But there's always room for improvement.
There's never a cap.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said in the last podcast, it's like, I'm going to be tolerant of other people. I don't have to agree with them, but I'm going to tolerate them at the very least.
Yeah.
I'm going to tolerate those people, but I'm going to be strict on how I am. I'm going to worry about myself. I'm going to try to reach the top.
And that's all you can do in this world.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm not here to prove anybody wrong. I'm here to prove myself right. That's my difference between our way of thinking, is I'm here to prove myself right. I'm not here to prove people wrong.
I'm here to prove people wrong.
And I mean, as soon as I believe...
And it doesn't necessarily mean that I care what like people say. It's that I think in myself, like, hey, I was able to do this, so I can do it with other things. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm proving people wrong because I want them to change the way they think of me. It's more of proving to myself that I can do it. I just need that boost, you know, that piece of denial, so that I can demonstrate it otherwise.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I see where you're coming
the
from.
Validation.
I see where you're coming from.
You did it, you know?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I'm not trying to negate what you're trying to say. It's just I have a very different approach when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their own way of getting there, and
yeah, and whatever works for them.
It's ultimately not up to me to decide what other people want to do. And I mean, the whole idea is I've been so against people being in control of me, and me being in control of myself, to where I just don't care about what other people think. I only care about where I want to be. So, I mean, that's the difference. I mean, I'm not trying to bash or anything. In fact, that's the last thing I want to do, because everybody has a different way of getting there.
No.
I mean, eventually we're all under the ground, and then when eventually somebody digs us up and looks at both of our skulls, they won't know who was rich and who was poor. So, I mean, that's my whole idea behind it.
Yeah, and I mean, either way could work. It just depends on the person, you know. What in the end, whatever works for that person, as long as you reach your goal and excel past your goal.
And I mean, there are things that I do in like not like every single day, but there's things that I do so I can discipline myself. Like every week, I make sure that every Tuesday and Thursday I take a cold shower. Every single day I wake up, I make my bed. Because it's discipline. I'm disciplining myself to do the things that I don't want to do. I'm disciplining myself to do those things. Mine?
Yeah. I can't see your face.
Like lower the position of your mic.
Yeah.
So.
Or you can move it to the side.
So like.
We have customizability, man.
the whole idea behind me doing those things is so I can achieve the things that I need to achieve with less resistance, because I've already dealt with like the bad things that are going on throughout the week. I mean, and eventually when I have a bad day, I can come home and I can see that my bed is already made for me, and I can just break the sheets, go under it, and I can feel good all over again. And that's the whole point behind disciplining yourself. I mean, discipline is learned. It's not something that is inherited. It's not something that is just passed down to you through generation. Discipline is something that needs to be done through your own suffering and on your own accord. Like, you can only be disciplined if you want to be disciplined.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the biggest gripe I do have about our generation is the fact that we laid down and died. We laid down and now we're just waiting for the spear to come down on us. We're waiting for the blade to chop us. We see what we have, we see the cards that we're dealt with, and we're not doing anything with it. We're folding. So it doesn't really help if you just accept your fate. No. It doesn't really help if you just accept it. You're supposed to love it. You're supposed to love the fate that you are going to end up with. And when it comes to relationships and things that just happen, it's like, you don't know what's going to happen to you next, but it's better if you have a plan of how to.
You learn from what happened the last time. Like, you have a president now, and now you can do better with what you learned with your past experience.
And one of the big things that I actually learned how to do was actually just reflection. If you just sit down every night and then you reflect for a good 15, 20 minutes, or eventually when you do it more, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, you can reflect about the things that you did right, the things that you did wrong throughout the day, and you can write it down, and then you can just come back to it later. It's like, I remember a few months ago, I did a reflection because I had a really bad day, and I was like, look, this is what happened. This is what happened. What are you going to do about it? And it's like, what are things that we should do when it comes down to it? So, I mean, it helps because you can sort of see yourself in third person. You're writing a story about yourself in your journal. You're writing a story and you're dictating what you should do next. Because you can see your past, and then that past is eventually going to happen again in the present, and then you will actually know what to do next. So, I mean, it's just all about reflection and just knowing what you need to do next.
Can't change the past.
Nope. That doesn't mean we have to forget it and then just
shrug our shoulders. I think you should remember it and learn from it. That's the most valuable thing about, the human brain. You can remember it, so use it. Remember it, learn from it, do what's right, or do what will benefit you. Like, as long as you are not being damaging to others and helping yourself, it's something valuable, you know.
But a big thing that happens when it comes down to that is whenever you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. That's always how it is. If you're saying yes to something, that means you're saying no to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have to step on some toes sometimes in order to get to the goal that you need to be at, or to get to the place where you're going to be on top. But ultimately, what you need to understand is that it's going to help you in the end. Because in the end, all you have is yourself. All you have is yourself. And all you can really do is improve yourself, not anybody else. I mean, I don't plan to change anybody else. I plan to influence people, but I don't plan to change them. I mean, that's the big thing that I've taken away from influencers, is the fact that they don't influence anything. In fact, if anything, they make people feel like shit. They make people think that they can do something stupid and then make lots of money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
They think that just because an influencer does it means they should, and everything. I mean, I hate to sound like a mom here, but I mean, just because they jump off the cliff doesn't mean you should too. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I mean, they say it for a reason.
Yeah, they say it for a reason. I just don't know why it never sticks.
It's really hard for people to understand some things, and like you can't really do anything about it. Like, you've relayed the information, now what are they going to do with it?
Exactly.
Whether they'll accept it or not, that's up to them. You are only going to be looking out for yourself, sharing it, the lesson, and then it's up to them whether they want to learn from it or not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I've always said, ignoring something brings you to ignorance. That's just the way that it is. It brings you to ignorance when you ignore things. Because when I ignore something, that just means that I'm putting it off. I'm putting it off for later, or I just don't want to listen to it anymore, and I don't have a chance to learn from it. I mean, like I've always said, the least you can do is acknowledge something. The least I can do is acknowledge something. So, I mean, sure, the way that something happened may not have worked out in my favor, but as long as I acknowledge it and I work with it, I will learn from it. It's always been the way that I've seen things. And like, sure, somebody's giving you tough love, and maybe they might have been too tough, but I mean, they might have been right. They might have been right, and at least now I'm able to find those things where I can step back and I'm like, wait, hold on, let me back up a little bit. What did I just do? What the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do about this situation? Can I improve myself from it?
That's kind of the problem with what's going on. It's like people don't like seeing the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just turn a blind eye, and it all comes down. It all goes back to ignorance.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing is
not.
You don't always have to have an opinion.
You don't.
You don't always have to have an opinion.
You don't always have to say something. Listening sometimes helps. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree. But listening, well, like Peter said, it's learning, or like acknowledging is important, you know. Education is the most important thing.
Education is freedom.
That
the freest people are the most educated. In fact, when you are truly free, you become scary to people.
Mm-hmm.
You become...
It's like they know too much.
you become untouchable. Aristotle. Okay, let's stop ourselves real quick. It seems like I do not know my history here. What I meant to talk about was Socrates. Socrates was killed for the fact that he was asking too many questions and he was being too free of a thinker. So the Athenians decided to charge him with impiety and corrupting the youth. So that's what I meant to say. Aristotle ended up dying of like some sort of stomach disease or some sort of stuff like that. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is I was wrong, and I'm actually supposed to be talking about Socrates here. Was killed because he knew too much, and people just found ways for him to... They found a way to catch him slipping. They tried to catch him slipping, and then they're like, you know what?
I like how you put it in Gen Z terms.
Yeah.
They caught him lacking. They were trying to catch him lacking.
Yeah.
And once they did, they popped the cap on his ass.
Yeah, and they made him drink poison because of it. They made him drink poison because he knew too much.
They capped his ass.
Yeah, they poisoned him. I mean, they poisoned a free thinker. I mean, some of the greatest thinkers in the world were killed off because they knew too much. Because knowledge isn't power, it's freedom.
Yes. God damn it. Dang, you put that hole.
I mean, I have like one every few days. I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, drinking isn't terrible. I mean,
responsibly.
Like, if you responsibly drink
responsibly,
it's actually supposed to increase your life expectancy.
Don't just... I'm not gonna get into it, but just do it. Just drink responsibly. Know your pace.
Know your pace.
Know your pace.
Not everything is a shot. So, I mean, overall, I just feel like people are laying down and accepting their fate, and they're just like, okay, it's time for me to die now.
Once they're out the womb, they're already digging their grave.
Well, I mean, I feel like they figure out that it's like, oh, well, the system's rigged. I can do nothing about it. And it's like, we're in control.
I feel like Gen Z is just putting their attention into less important things. Like, because they do have the power to change things, they just don't harness it and use it for something, say, important.
One of the greatest things that I ever did was actually social media detox. It was a dopamine detox, basically. It was where I just stopped using my devices. All I did was just text people when I needed to. I did a dopamine detox, so no social media whatsoever. All I really did was text people. That's all I really did. Didn't watch porn, didn't do anything. I still don't watch porn because porn is disgusting. Porn is disgusting, it's unrealistic. I just think that people shouldn't do it because it's unrealistic, it's disgusting, and ultimately it doesn't help whatsoever. So with...
I'm sorry, the audio guy was doing something and I had to laugh.
So when you do something like that, you feel better. I can't explain it. You just feel better. You feel more appreciative of the world that's around you, because that's all you have left is the world that's around you. I mean, have you ever just put your phone up and just like ate the food in front of you, don't even watch TV, just like sat at the dinner table, ate the food in front of you, you feel the food actually tastes better.
Really? I don't know, because like I have a problem with sound, and just keep going.
I have tinnitus, so I definitely have a problem with sound, so I just hear that ringing in my ears every single time there's quiet.
No. It's not that, but I mean, yeah, you could just keep going.
I mean, the biggest thing is like you don't have to you don't have to eat in silence, but you just don't watch TV, don't look at a device, don't look at anything that's going to give you sensory overload, like a device like a phone or something. You just have a conversation with the people that you're eating with. You just don't even touch your phone. Just have a conversation with the people. Have a conversation with them. Eat your food. Look at the food. Eat it, and just the food tastes better. The interactions you have with the people are better. It just works better.
Hmm.
I mean, that's how I've felt when I did that. It was just like when I turned off all my social media, I felt like a god. And it's like social media skews things so much. I mean, it was up to the point where I felt like I was worthless for the longest time. I felt like I thought I wasn't sexy enough. I thought I wasn't good enough. But over time, it's just like, no, it's not that. I mean, in my own regard, I'm hot as fuck. I am an absolute beast. I'm a monster. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And it just is absolutely amazing, because I could do the most outlandish, worst thing in the world right now, but I'm not going to do that because I'm better than that. I'm just better. I'm over that.
I am better.
I'm better. I'm better than licking ice cream in a grocery store. I'm better than like pranking people in public. That videos may or may not be staged. Like I'm better than that.
100%. People know that.
It's like I'm better than that. I'm way better than that. But we consume, we watch them, we think it's funny, and basically those people on social media become clowns. That's all they are. They're clowns. They're for our entertainment. They might as well just put on the makeup and start dancing in front of us. Because as soon as they become irrelevant and boring, we kick them out.
On to the next one.
On to the next one, like Salt Bae. Right after the World Cup, when he tried to salvage his relevancy after scathing reviews of his steakhouse, he tried to remain relevant, and look where it landed him. Everybody
we're talking about him, so...
Hey, I mean, we're talking about him, but he's a perfect example of what the difference is between an influencer and a celebrity is. I mean, we don't know anything about certain billionaires in the world. In fact, like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's a good example. Like, all we know is he's a really cheap bastard. But I mean, we don't really know much else. We know that he's super cheap, and him and Bill Gates went and flew out and went to McDonald's, and then they paid with coupons. But we don't really know much else about him, because we don't need to. But everybody knows him, but he doesn't know everybody.
The other topics you got?
What topics do I have? Well,
can we talk about how everybody's simping over Jenna Ortega? Let's get some drama up in here, babe. Yo, I think
Jenna Ortega.
Do you know her?
Yeah, I mean, I watched.
Our audio guy is
Wednesday.
going crazy right now.
Yeah, he's a fucking slave to women. That's the problem. He's a slave to women. Problem is with men is the fact that they just assume.
Hey, he's accepting it.
They just assume that if they just do everything for a woman, they're immediately gonna get them. Meanwhile, they look like an absolute piece of shit for it. They look like an absolute shitbag. They look desperate as hell.
Horrible.
It looks like they haven't jerked off in months. It is absolutely awful for men to be that way. And it's like, I said before, you don't let anybody control you, because when you control yourself, nobody can control you. But there's men out there that just let women do it. They just let them do it.
And they abuse it. They take advantage of it. And I mean, I respect it, because it's the guy's fault. Yeah,
They know it's gonna work.
And it's the man's fault. You know.
Yeah, I mean
and it's just how it's gonna be. Some men that see it from the outside, they're like, "Oh wow, that's unbelievable," and it's like, no, it's like
the biggest thing I learned while dating was the fact that you know nothing about the person. They can say that they like you and they don't like you, or they could say that they don't like you and they do like you, and it's just all such a big thing, and it's you don't know anything. You don't know anything because in the end they could be using you.
right.
I mean, it took me getting used maybe once or twice for me to really realize that. But, I mean, overall, the biggest thing is I've healed, and I've continued. And I'm always going to continue to be indestructible, and those people have really taught me what my worth really is.
Yeah, they've really. I take every relationship as a lesson. I mean, if it didn't work out, find out why and learn from it. I mean, it just goes back to knowing
the biggest thing that really
how
does annoy me though is those people that assume that they know what women want.
Right.
And
the women don't even know what women want.
Yeah, women don't even know what women want because every woman's different. Every man is different.
Every man is different.
Every man is different. Every woman's different.
It's like there are some certain presidents, but you can't really rely on them.
Yeah, and it's very hard.
You can take bits and pieces of it, but that's about it.
It's very hard for people to just group people together, and it's always driven me crazy when men are like, oh, all women are bitches, or all that sort of stuff, or all men are like
Juice WRLD,
or like men are like, or women are like, oh, well, all men are pigs. All they want is sex. Blah 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 blah, and it's like
it's all mixed.
And so many men complain like, well, I mean, if they didn't like me, why did they let me take me out? Why did they let me take them out on a date? And it's like, because
it's free.
They were using you. That's
it's
why.
Free.
It's free. It's a free meal.
You think if a girl takes you out, you think you're gonna deny a free meal even though she's like horrendous? Like, no, it's free food. Exactly. And like they'll probably say like, no. Like, no, you're only saying that because it happened to you and you're just saying that.
I mean, your dignity means nothing when compared to your actions.
Exactly.
But, I mean, with Jenna Ortega, it's just like people are just simping over her. And it doesn't
Look, I think she's
sense.
Attractive.
She's attractive to certain people.
I try to hit, but I'm not going to obsess over her.
No, I don't have posters of her or anything. In fact, I'm a man who likes men. So it doesn't affect me at all. But from my perspective, if I went and thought of like what was the biggest like gay sensation? Tom Daley was like the biggest gay sensation in like 2017 or something.
Don't know who that is.
Or like Tom Holland was another one.
Oh yeah.
Tom Holland was like such a big gay sensation, or like a big sensation among women as well. And it's like, whenever I see those people, I always like to wonder, like, what are you getting out of this? Like, are you getting anything out of simping over a celebrity? Like, are you getting anything out of this? Like, every single night you cry yourself to sleep that you're not with her, and then you move on with the rest of your day because you're a little bitch. That's why. Because you're a little bitch.
You're a little bitch.
Because you're a little bitch boy.
Oh my god, I broke the audio. I'm so sorry.
Like, you're a little bitch boy that can't deal with what you have already. Like, it's unrealistic. You think Jenna Ortega looks like that all the time?
Hey, I think, you know what would be a good idea? Well, let's see if the audio... Or we're going to call him Makifumi. We're not going to use his real name. We're going to call him Makifumi as the audio guy. But I think he has to say something. I feel like he wants to say something. Do you want to say something?
He wants to, but he's our audio
Makifumi
guy.
Would you like to say something about this topic?
Say no.
He's not doing anything. Hello?
Your
I know
silence,
you can hear me because you're wearing the headphones. That
your silence is telling me everything. So I'm gonna say that as no. I'm gonna see that as a no.
Like,
Tell me to say no.
Okay, but do you want to say something?
Well, I mean, you didn't say no. You had silence.
Hey, this
is
a look. I want everybody to share their opinions. Okay, this is a podcast where voices need to be heard.
Yeah, I mean that's the point of a
your
podcast.
voice is being heard, my voice is being heard.
Well, why didn't we get a third microphone? They were on sale.
Listen, I could just move it. I could just move it. That's. I don't think he even wants to be on camera. He doesn't have to be on camera, but I could just spin the mic.
I mean, like, secrecy is important to me, so I respect his secrecy.
Yeah, I will fully respect it. I mean, that's why we gave a fake name and everything, but,
I don't want to take the spotlight.
You're not taking anything from me.
Yeah, you're really not, like, if you want to say something, and, like, there's no problem. Huh?
Talk about what?
So
I don't know.
You're gonna let him simp over Jenna Ortega on social media.
Listen.
See, he's got something to say. I think I should give him the mic.
Well, I can't turn that way, but yeah.
Look, I'll give him mine because it's closer to him. Put yours back.
Yeah, put yours back because all I see is stick.
Here you go.
Where are you?
It's behind me.
Behind me? So I'm not the one that's simping. The one that's simping is the one that isn't on camera. Oh, there he is. The one that's simping is right there. The one with the black shirt. I'm not a
I think
simp.
you're saying me.
Yeah, I think I'm talking about you.
I'm wearing a Vans hoodie.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to disagree with that
Hey,
only for the sole
sir,
purpose that
sir.
I haven't
Sir.
been doing any type of gestures, especially off camera.
What?
So-
The
I mean,
heart beating?
He doesn't really have a choice but to do things off camera. So.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, pretty much. But he has been noticeably trying to say something, and that's
Say
why-
what? Say what?
I don't know.
I don't know. What you mean?
I mean,
What do I mean?
Well, I guess that's all.
Hey, can I say my poem?
So, anyways, thank you for your opinion.
that's an inside joke. Thank you for being our audio guy.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it, but you're also a simp.
Pass me the mic, man.
Okay, now you want to say something.
See? I was just joking.
Okay. Yeah, it's all jokes here. Well, not everything, but.
Hey, who you calling a joke?
Okay, shut up now.
So basically, my whole thing behind this is like, yeah, we can crush over celebrities as much as we want, but it's not doing anything, and the fact that we get sad over it is just like so stupid, because you already know that it's unachievable. You already know that it's absolutely unrealistic for them to just show up at your doorstep and then profess their love to you. You already know that it's absolutely never going to happen.
I mean, it could.
I mean, it totally could, but what are the chances?
I'm just kidding. I'm giving false
Less
hope
than
to
1 in a
people. I'm
million.
sorry.
Less than 1 in a million. You probably have a better chance of winning the lottery at this
Okay,
point.
well, no.
You most likely have a better chance of winning.
There was
the
actually
lottery.
no. Listen. There was actually a YouTube video. This guy made a YouTube video. He actually went out to wherever Jenna Ortega was gonna be. He flew to, like, I think it was like some award show, and she was gonna be there. So what he was trying to do was ask her for to go on a date. And there was a whole YouTube video on it,
Mhm.
and like he put in the effort to try to do this, and he's basically influencing what many people want to do,
Uh-huh.
which is meet her and try to.
Okay, so
get a
so
date
so
with her.
what happened in the end?
He got denied,
Exactly.
obviously, and pretty much.
Pretty much you proved my point.
Yeah, it proved the point of, like, it can't happen, and these people, they can obviously crush over somebody, but some people have taken it to such a high extent that, like, it's very bad for them and for her, because it could risk her life.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Mm-hmm.
Is like you can drool over this girl as much as you want, but you're under her as far as she's concerned. You're just a regular person.
You don't even exist.
You don't exist. You have nothing to offer. You are nothing. You are absolutely nothing compared to them. So, I mean, I was talking about how we're just accepting our fate here and all this sort of BS. But
that also correlates with fantasy and realism.
Exactly. Because you like her because of how she looks and the role that she is. She thinks that at the very least. She'll think that at the very least, because all she thinks you see in her is Wednesday. That's all she thinks you see in her. Or whatever other role the person is, like Tom Holland. Like, everybody thinks of him as Spider-Man or as a cute British boy. I mean,
wait, he's British?
Yeah, he's British.
I'm just kidding. I know.
Yeah.
There's just some people are probably gonna think that.
I mean, like, he understands that he's somebody's fantasy, and he doesn't want that. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want to be someone's fantasy. She wants to be realistically treated like an equal, and she can't treat you like an equal because you aren't. You're not equal. You're never going to be equal. You work at your dead-end job at Amazon. You work at your dead-end job at Walmart. You work your dead-end job at a 5-minute quickie, like Jiffy Lube. Like, you are nothing. You are nothing, and she knows it, and you are never going to make it. You're never going to make it because you have nothing to offer. You can never be equal to her because you suck, and you're a simp, and she will always be a fantasy in your eyes. And she knows it. And you can deny it as much as you want, but she knows it. I know it. Everybody knows it. I mean, why do you think celebrities mostly just date celebrities? Because they're pretty much equal to each other at this point. I mean, unless you're Pete Davidson, he's sort of like the...
Or PK. Do you know about that?
Who?
PK.
I mean...
I think that was the reason why
Pete Davidson has it rough.
He cheated.
Like, he's such a he's like everybody's rebound. I swear to God, like, he was like Ari's rebound.
He's rebound man.
He was Ariana's rebound. He was Kim K's rebound. I mean,
rebound man.
He gets this all because he's funny.
Yeah,
and I mean, he's entertaining.
That's a big feature in a man, humor,
because I mean, you're entertaining. But if that's your only thing, you might as well put on your clown makeup and start dancing, because as soon as you become boring, she's just gonna leave you.
You're just a clown.
That's just the way it is. I mean, the only thing that you can really do is worry about yourself. And let's just say Jenna Ortega does show up at your doorstep, then
or you just cross paths.
You just cross paths with each other. I mean, the whole idea of being yourself whenever dating somebody is true, because what people really want is for you to act like you're good on your own already.
Mm-hmm.
You're good on your own already.
You can take care of yourself. You can take care of another person.
I mean, that's just a general. That's just a general thing. Is just like,
because like if you can't take care of yourself, then how are you gonna take care of another person?
I've denied people just because they were going to use me as a crutch, just because I felt like they were not over somebody yet. I was like, no, we're not doing this. I'm not your therapist here. I'm here to love you. I'm here to give you
at least tips. Pay me so I can be a therapist.
If I'm gonna be your therapist, then you gotta pay me. You gotta give me something. It's like I can't waste my time. I'm not a coping mechanism. You're wasting my time if I'm a coping mechanism, because eventually when you do heal, you're gonna throw me away and go for the next guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a coping mechanism. I'm not
stupid.
I'm not gonna go through all your headache. I want somebody that knows what they want. I want somebody that is confident in the place that they are. They know what they're gonna do next, and they can continue. And I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for a lot of people here. I mean, stability is probably the most reassuring thing when it comes to it. I mean, if you just happen to have Jenna Ortega show up and you just authentically create a relationship between yourselves, and good on you. That's perfectly fine. That's good on you. Let it happen. But don't go through with all of these different hoops of like flying out there and going to her award show where she has to act like the good Jenna Ortega, where she can just act like a character and act like not herself. And you like, why are you doing that? Like, you know how desperate you sound, you know how desperate you look by doing so. Like, even if she were to say yes, what are you gonna do? Stay there for the rest of your life? Are you just gonna stay there for the rest of your life and just give up everything that you had before just for a woman? Just for somebody who may care about you? May care about you?
A big maybe.
Like, it's just all such bullshit. Like, why are you going through this? You're becoming a slave to that person if you are simping for them. Because if you treat them like royalty, they're going to treat you like a follower. Go ahead.
You can't put someone in the podium other than yourself.
Yep. You are on the podium.
You are the podium. You're on the podium. You're not the podium.
No.
My bad.
No.
Do not. That is not the good advice. You are on the podium.
Like, you...
Everybody else is the podium.
You are supposed to be in control of your own life. Why are you letting other
destiny.
people control it for you?
Exactly.
Why are you letting these people control your life? Why are you flying out for that one person? Now, it would be different if it was like your wife or something, or if your husband or
yeah.
whatever.
Once it's already known that, like, hey, you know, this is what the two people want. You know, it's worth the flight. It's worth some sacrifice, some sort of sacrifice.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. I mean, it's where we establish trust.
You keep blocking your face, bro.
It's where we establish trust. I mean, you have to have established trust first when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with Jenna Ortega, like, I still don't know the appeal. I mean, sure, I do have girl crushes every once in a while, because who doesn't?
I'm looking at you, Ryan Reynolds.
I'm always going to see women as like, oh, she looks good. She ate up that dress. Like, she did great. Like, she did amazing. She is doing great. She looks good. She's absolutely gorgeous. And, like, it's a different type of feeling, but there's nothing redeeming of her. Like, I could literally find somebody that looks better than her anywhere else. Yeah. And in a regular setting, too. That's the funniest part. In a regular setting, too. The only difference is the fact that I can treat her as if I am living my own life. Like, what? You should be treating everybody as if you're living your own life. That's the issue. I mean, if you're not living your own life, and it's all in this because... and you're all in this because of them, then they're going to take advantage of it. They're going to take advantage of it. You know the hand signs, right?
It's the first time, okay? We'll work on it.
But, I mean, it's like you can actually treat them like you're equal because they know that you're an equal. I mean, that's the difference. I mean... It just doesn't make any sense to simp over a celebrity. It really doesn't.
Or anybody.
I mean, I can happily say that I've never had a celebrity crush. I can happily say that. Because...
I can happily say I did, but, like, it's something that you don't obsess over, basically.
Exactly. What's her time?
Or what time is it overall? It's 9:02. Fuck! We gotta
2
end this.
hours, bro.
We gotta end this.
So, I mean, overall, I just feel like we're letting other things control us. We're letting things get to us. We're letting things just be in charge of us. Whether it's women, whether it's society, whether it's crypto billionaires who just swear to God that the only way that you can get rich is through crypto, and the only way you can get rich is if you follow them and pay $50 for their subscription every month. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And it's just so stupid. Because in the end, everybody has their own way of doing it, and the only thing you can do is to just let it happen naturally, because that's the only way it works. Anyways, thank you for coming to the second episode of the Congression. I really appreciate the views.
Please give us your opinions. This is an open podcast. Everybody has a voice. Don't be afraid to say what you think. We're not, so why would you? I mean, we're literally showing our faces while giving, what we think. So I mean, just don't.
I don't really see this as advice, to be honest. I just see this as how I do things on my own. I mean, you don't know us, and I mean, we don't know you either.
Exactly.
And I mean, whether you
think
what we're saying is good or bad is up to you.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
It doesn't really bother me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really bother me.
And like we said, we can learn, and that could be in many ways. And seeing certain comments, we could learn, or hearing what y'all heard today, y'all could learn. It's all about learning.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're just trying to help each other. Yeah,
we're just all in this world.
We're all here.
We're all here.
We're all in the same rock.
Like we're not in this together. We're definitely not in this together, but we all are here. We're all present.
Here. So might as well,
But anyways, thank you for attending the
second episode
of the
Congression podcast, the fourth episode of the total channel.
Yeah. But thank you for attending, and if you guys like the videos, that's up to you.
Share,
and
show us that y'all like it.
Exactly. And
give us some topics.
Yeah, help us with topics, and
what do y'all want to hear? What do you want other people to hear? We could talk about it.
With all that being said, thank you for being here, and we will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.